125-mile go featured Buddy Baker on the pole, driving the red Dodge Charger number 71. He had the quickest qualifying time with 185.662 miles per hour. 43, Richard Petty, in another Charger, starts alongside. In the second row, it's 11, Cale Yarborough, in a Junior Johnson-prepared Chevy, next to Ray Elder in the Dodge number 96. In the third row, two more Chevrolets, 12, Bobby Allison, and 28, Gordon Johncock. They're leading the rest of the field down the tri-oval for the green flag. There it is, and the race is on. Cale Yarborough got the jump going into turn one, but Baker passed him as they went into two. Both cars are very evenly matched, and it should be a close battle all the way. At the end of the first lap, it's Baker, Yarborough, Petty, Johncock, and Elder. Buddy's Dodge is red hot down the chutes, and he seems to stretch the pack, but they close up on him in every turn. Here, Bobby Allison screams his number 12 Monte Carlo into the pits. He told his crew it didn't sound good and that he felt a vibration in the front end. He's been plagued with troubles here at Daytona for the past week. As the leaders start to close up on the slower cars, Johncock passes Petty to take over third, and Cale is working Buddy over on every corner. On the 21st lap, there's a spinner in turn 4. Bob Tolias in number 66 lost it high in the turn, spun around, and ended up in the infield. He's all right. With the first caution flag of the race out, most of the traffic is in the pits. Cale gets out before Baker because Harry Hyde and the crew are fitting Buddy's car with new rubber all the way around to give him a harder compound tire. When Baker comes out on the track, he's in the 4th position. Richard Petty is 3rd, Cale Yarborough 2nd, and Gordy Johncock leads them down for the restart. Into turn 1, Cale Yarborough slips his number 11 Chevy underneath Johncock to take over the lead. Petty is 3rd, Baker is on the move. Down the back chute, Johncock stands on the yellow 28 and moves up to challenge Cale through the turn. Yarborough out-punches Gordy down the front chute to maintain the lead. Baker has his Charger wound out and screams past Petty to take the 3rd position. In the second pocket, Baker knifes under Johncock. He's 2 now, going for Cale and the lead. Here he comes. The red 71 pulls out from behind Yarborough and fires past him right down the main straightaway. Buddy Baker is once again the leader. Down the back chute, onto the high banks, it's Baker with the lead. Yarborough second, Johncock third, and Richard Petty is fourth. Cale gives Buddy no rest. He's climbing right down his pipes over every foot of the racetrack. Finally, down the long back straight, he moves alongside Baker and entering turn 3, takes the lead away. Cale has his Chevy about to split at the seams, trying to hold a lead over Baker's Dodge, with Petty closing the gap on both cars. Baker does it again. On the back straightaway, he puts the nose of his Charger in the low groove and blows Cale off to regain his lead. This Chevy Dodge duel is something else. Then Johncock passes Petty to slide into the third spot. Dick Brooks is fifth, Waltrip sixth, and Benny Parsons running seventh. Onto the tri-oval, Baker edges Cale on the inside and is the first car to fly under the white flag. One more lap to go. Baker's Dodge proves to be too much for the Chevy. Cale can stay with him, but there's not enough left to pass Buddy. And the red Charger number 71 streaks under the checkered flag to take the win. Cale Yarborough picked up the second place money. Gordy Johncock finished third, Richard Petty fourth, and Dick Brooks in the fifth spot. The average speed was 173.611 miles per hour, and it lasted 43 minutes, 12 seconds. Cale Yarborough led the race 8 different times, Johncock twice, and Baker 7 times. But Buddy led it for the only lap that really counted, the last one. I think that's why he looks so happy.
Each year, as a prelude to the Daytona 500, America's fastest stock cars and finest drivers line up for 2 125-mile qualifying races, of which this is the second. These races determine their starting positions for the 500-mile Classic. With only 125 miles between the green and the checkered flags, it's a flat-out run for the money all the way. Pete Hamilton starts on the pole with Jim Van Diver alongside. Number 14, Cuckoo Marlin and Herschel McGriff are right behind them. A.J. Foyt and Joe Frizan are in the third row. Onto the front chute, there's the green, and they're off. Hamilton fires that big Plymouth number 9 into the lead with Cuckoo Marlin's 14 Chevrolet taking over second. Down the long back chute, Marlin slides under Hamilton as they enter turn 3. They're door to door. Now Foyt and Van Diver move up, and suddenly it's a 4-pack looking for daylight. Quarter asked or given. This is racing Southern style. In the third pocket, Pete Hamilton regains his lead with Jimmy Van Diver in the draft. Van Diver as he drops down low under Hamilton, and Herschel McGriff moves up to play. It's a threesome on the front chute, and Jim Van Diver screams into the lead. McGriff follows him to take over second. Pete Hamilton falls back into the third spot. The leads change fast and often with these boys. Action on the back chute. Dean Dalton in car number 7 blew his engine coming out of turn 2 and spun down onto the infield grass. Dalton is all right, but through for the day. With the caution flag out, cars take the opportunity to pit, and the action is fast and furious. On the restart, David Pearson has the lead with Cuckoo Marlin running second. David was a late qualifier and started this race way back in the 28th position, but he's a front runner now. The pace car pulls off, and there's the green. In the first turn, Marlin jockeys his Chevy to the low side and challenges Pearson for the front spot. Down the long backstretch, Pearson jabs his 21 Mercury back into the lead, and Van Diver moves up to second place. Van Diver tries David in the low groove and passes him to take the lead away. Now Pete Hamilton is on the move. He also passes Pearson to take over second, forcing David back into third. Onto the tri-oval. Hamilton makes a bid for the lead and takes it. The cars refueled on the last caution flag. Some will try to make it all the way, and the pit crews are worried as to whether or not they can go the distance. Meanwhile, on the back chute, Pearson has regained his lead from Hamilton. That's all she wrote for Pete Hamilton. He just blew the Hemi in that Plymouth, and he'll have to park it behind the wall. Cuckoo Marlin in the 14 Chevy takes up the chase and pushes Pearson through every turn of the racetrack. Marlin does it. He takes the lead away from David down the front chute, right in front of the grandstands. Look out! The engine let go in Jerry Cook's Chevy. He spun it, then got hit by Slick Gardner in the number 1 car. The caution flag is out, and Pearson limps into the pits out of gas. Difficulty starting the car. They push him, they finally get him out and underway. but a half lap behind leader Cuckoo Marlin, who brings him down now for the green flag. Now there's another question. Does Marlin have enough gas to finish? He did not pit on the last yellow flag. Down off the high bank, fourth turn for the last time, and Cuckoo Marlin takes the checkered flag. Herschel McGriff finishes second. A.J. Foyt is third. David Pearson's try for the fuel economy run cost him a top spot. He finishes ninth. Marlin and his crew pull into victory lane. Cuckoo's son is the chief mechanic on this hot little Chevy. They build it and maintain it themselves. Their trip into victory lane was the result of a lot of hard work, but a job well done. Buddy Baker, driving the Dodge number 71, has the pole position. Pete Hamilton in a Plymouth number 9 is alongside. And some big names like Cale Yarborough, Bobby Allison, Donnie Allison, David Pearson. They're all here, the biggest names in late model stock racing.
A jam-packed, history-making crowd of over 103,000 race fans watched the thrill makers from NASCAR take the parade lap in the 15th annual Daytona 500, the biggest stock car classic in America. Fastest qualifier Buddy Baker is on the pole. Pete Hamilton alongside. That makes it Dodge Plymouth up front. Then it's Cale Yarborough, Gordy Johncock, Herschel McGriff, Richard Petty, and A.J. Foyt. The green flag waves, and Buddy Baker in the Dodge number 71 breaks out into the lead. The first 13 laps were under the yellow flag to dry out the track after morning showers. When the green finally fell, Cale Yarborough in the Chevy 11 fired into second place behind Baker like he was shot out of a cannon. To the tri-oval, it's Baker, Yarborough, Cuckoo Marlin, and Gordy Johncock fourth. Richard Petty moves up on the inside of Johncock to take over the fourth spot, with Baker and Yarborough running flat out. On the 20th lap, it's Baker, Yarborough, Petty, Johncock, and Foyt. And radar clocks them into the first turn at over 189 miles per hour. The 04 car is the first to pit. Herschel McGriff, the driver. He comes in for two right tires, a left rear, fuel, and he's off. Cale Yarborough in the Monte Carlo 11 is pushing Baker every foot of the way. They're setting a tremendous pace and clocking laps at over 188 miles an hour. Pearson, who started in the 20th spot and moving up strong, pulls in for his first pit stop of the day. Here's the leader, Buddy Baker, for fuel and tires. On the 34th lap, Pete Hamilton smokes his number 9 Plymouth into the pits with a blown engine. The second fastest qualifier is out of the race. Cale Yarborough screams his number 11 Chevy into the pits, and this is the way we recorded a Junior Johnson 21-second pit stop. 28, the Lemon Tree Special, driven by Gordy Johncock, goes behind the wall, out of the race. Richard Petty's crew do a superb job and have that Dodge back on the track in 19 seconds. And on the high banks, Buddy Baker is the boy to catch. He has that number 71 K&K Dodge wound out tight. There they go in turn 4. Car number 42, Marty Robbins, lost it coming onto the tri-oval and slid along the wall for over 1,000 feet. Stayed out of the traffic, and he's okay. After that crash, the Grand Ole Opry star said he was singing 2 octaves higher for 3 days. This one drew a yellow flag, and pit row suddenly became the traffic center of Daytona Beach, Florida. With the cars back on the track, Buddy Baker leads them down for the restart. Cale Yarborough is second, Petty third. Baker's out in front with clear sailing. Meanwhile, Yarborough and Petty have to move up through the traffic. Bobby Allison pits his number 12 Chevy with a broken distributor. His crew put on a new one, and Bobby gets back in the race. Has moved right up into Yarborough's trunk now as they both battle it out for second. And with each lap, move a little closer to leader Buddy Baker. Here, Petty drafts on Cale's Chevy all the way down the tri-oval, but Yarborough stretches him a little as they go into turn 1. On this 88th lap, Petty's tires start to chunk, and he's forced to pit. The crew gives him new right-side rubber, a drink of water, an aspirin, clean the windshield, and refuel the car. 24 seconds later, they push him back on the track. On On the 130th lap, the leader is still Buddy Baker in the Dodge number 71. Cale Yarborough second in the Chevy 11, with Petty in the Dodge 43 running third. Yarborough tries Baker high and low. His Chevy can run with the Dodge, but he doesn't seem to have the power to pass Buddy. Number 2, Dave Marcus, drops down onto the apron and heads for the garage. His Matador has just blown an engine. Just a few weeks ago, Mark Donahue put that American Motors entry in victory lane at the Riverside 500. But you can't win them all. Cale Yarborough gives Buddy Baker no rest as he chases him into every turn of the racetrack. Petty is third and seems to be pacing himself well. Bobby Isaac is running fourth in a Ford. Look out! Car number 49, driven by John Utzman, blew an engine coming onto the front chute and spun in his own oil. But he held it low, got into the infield, and he's all right. At the same time, going into turn 1, Cale Yarborough blows his engine into Monte Carlo and heads for the garage. With a yellow out, most of the field screams into the pits. The action is wild. Buddy Baker is in first. Number 43, Richard Petty. Along with tires and fuel, Bobby Isaac gets a new windshield. Number 96, Ray Elder, wheels his Dodge in. The Chevrolet number 50 with A.J. Foyt aboard. It all happens in seconds, and suddenly they all roar out. A few of them don't make it back into the race. It's all over for Cale Yarborough and Junior Johnson and the Chevy that ran so strong. But you can bet that these boys have got a big season ahead of them. On the restart, Baker is first. 4 cars back, Petty is second, with Bobby Isaac third. Richard fires past the slower cars, picks up his pace, and begins closing the gap on Buddy Baker. '15, Bobby Isaac holds on to third with Dick Brooks in the Dodge number 6 running a close fourth. With Cale out of the race, Petty takes up the challenge and works Baker over on every inch of the racetrack. But both drivers know they haven't enough fuel to go the distance. Both cars must hit one more time. This is the kind of racing that makes NASCAR number 1. Lap. 11 more to go, and Richard dives into the pits for fuel only. Maurice and the crew give him just enough to finish. He's out in 9 seconds. Now it's Baker's turn. Fuel only. Harry Hyde and the crew have him rolling in 8 seconds. Cars refueled, Petty has the lead. 10 laps to go, and Baker has the piston swapping holes in his Dodge, trying to close the gap on Richard. It's
It's another Daytona duel. Petty with the lead, and Baker is closing on him at the rate of about 1.5 seconds per lap. Can he do it? Suddenly, it happens. Entering turn 3, Buddy Baker just blew the belly out of his heavy, and the Dodge that led most of the race had the fastest time, and with only 6 laps to go, looked destined for victory lane. Now heads for the garage, out of the race. Buddy Baker limps his car into the pits with undoubtedly the heartbreaker of the year. While on the track, Richard Petty whips his number 43 under the white flag with 1 more lap, and it's all his. Down off the high bank, 4th turn, onto the tri-oval, and the Petty Blue flies under the checkered flag, winner of the 15th annual Daytona 500. Bobby Isaac finished 2nd with Dick Brooks 3rd, A.J. Foyt 4th, and Herschel McGriff 5th. Brother Maurice and a jubilant crew push Richard's car into victory lane. And there's a couple of questions still unanswered. With 6 laps to go, could Baker have caught him? If so, would he have been able to pass him? We'll never know. But Richard Petty has just won the biggest, richest, and most important stock car race in the world. And he's done it for the 4th time.